Welcome back to our video session. So in this video we are going to go through some tips for your exam. And I have whiteboards now. Actually it's a screen that I have for a while. I haven't been using for a bit, and it was a bit tricky to set up, but it's working. So like this I can explain to you a bit better maybe what I mean with my tips. So what's important is the RHCSA exam is normally 3 hours. I've heard it could be sometimes shorter. I don't know if they're gonna change it. I had 3 full hours, which is pretty long, but honestly I needed mostly less than 2 hours. After 1 hour and a half I was almost done with everything. And then I checked everything, and then I still had 1 hour to go, and there was one question that was bugging me. I spent half an hour trying to solve that one. I didn't find the solution for that one, but that's not a problem. So you don't need to know every possible question. You need to have the necessary points, which I forgot. It's like 70% or something. I should check that actually, but it doesn't matter. Mostly when you go through it with me, if you do all the labs that I suggest, if you know how to work on them and without any help, then during the exam you will have no problem whatsoever, especially with all the suggestions, all the comments I give in the videos. It's very important to know how to use the man page, how to use different kinds of help contexts. But let's first explain what you can do. So I could start by drawing a little penguin here. This is for our Linux. I don't know. This is a very stupid penguin, but let's have some fun, you know. So yeah, this is our penguin working on his laptop, and he's very happy. So you have two solutions to pass the exam. Either, sorry for my terrible drawing. Either you do it at home, so in the comfort of your home, or you do it at the test center. How could I make a test center? I don't know. I will make it like a big building with small windows. It's also fun to see me drawing, I suppose. So yeah, and you can call it test. Yeah, something like that. So you have the test center, you have your home. If you do it at the test center, everything will be prepared for you. You will just need to hand over your phone. You will not be able to have anything in there. Actually, they asked me to hand over my phone, but then during the test they tell me they needed something, me to take a picture or whatever, I don't know. I needed my phone, and in the end I got my phone in, and then I gave it back. So it's a bit weird, but you know, they have unnecessary procedures. You're not allowed to have anything except a drink. Even the drink was forbidden at the beginning. Then I asked the RHCSA people. They told me, okay, you can bring your drink inside. And I told the people from the test center, they told me, okay, if they tell you it's fine, then it's fine. So I brought the drink inside. There was no trick on my drink. I mean, what? I don't want to swear, but yeah, it's all fine. So one drink is allowed. No bag, nothing. Everything you should leave outside the room where you will pass the test. So that's for the test center. If you pass at home, then at home you should have an empty room mostly with just one monitor and either a PC or a laptop, but only one monitor. Which means if you have multiple ones, either you need to cover them or to remove them entirely. So I don't know. I myself went for the test center this time because I live in Vienna, so for me it was relatively easy to go to the test center. But if you live somewhere in the countryside, then it might be better to just do it from the comfort of your home. It's just you need to prepare your room. In my case, I have a bunch of mess in my room, so I preferred to just go to the test center, and that's easier, but that's really up to you. I just tell you what to expect in both cases. You will have a proctor that will tell you exactly what to do if you do it at your home. And actually, the funny part is you meet the same proctor if you do it in the test center. It's just a more prepared environment. So either you prepare your home for the exam and then you do it in the comfort of your home, or you do it at the test center. You're basically not allowed to take breaks, I think. So be prepared, visit the toilets, eat something before, and be prepared to spend quite some time in the testing room. You can, in case there is a problem, you can always ask the proctor and he will tell you what to do. you have a special chat for it on the PC or on your PC, on the interface, let's say, of that thing that you're gonna use. I just prefer to go to the test center also for that reliability. I mean, I have a pretty reliable internet, but you know, it can be annoying if a problem happens. So yeah, I would tend to suggest go to the test center, and then it's also a little trip, you know, it's like, yeah, it's not bad. I think it's good to go to the test center, but I did so, for instance, last year I passed this Kubernetes certificate at home, and it's also fine. It is just a bit different. So anyway, now about the tips for the exam. Once you've decided where you want to go, and you decided for, let's delete this, and you're passing the exam. The first thing is, let's describe a bit the exam. The first thing that you will see is that during the exam you will have 2 VMs. So let's call, I will just do like this, server, oh man, it's terrible, server A, and zoop, server B. Let's call them like this. Server A will usually be like available already to connect to. I mean, both, you will be able to connect to both. The first one will have, I mean, this was my case in the exam. It doesn't mean it will be your case, but mostly it's like this from what I heard. So you can take it with a grain of salt, but it should be like this. The first one you will have access. So you will be able to log in already through this VM interface. So you have a VM interface connected to it, and then you can tell it to start, reboot, stop, whatever, you know, you name it. And you have the same for the second one. You can access the same. The only difference is, what I had is that for the second server, you don't have the root access. So you need to, already there for server B, I don't know, it's an ugly B I made, you need to give it root access. So for that you will need the root password reset. Let's try to write it down. Root pass reset. If you don't do this, I will do it like this. It's important. If you don't do this, you will have some problem, because then you will not be able to do any of the tasks that are supposed to be done on server B. So this is why in my videos I say go to, I think, video 22, do that lab, and this is very important. This is maybe the first thing you should learn it by heart. Do a root password reset by heart. You should know it. Very important. On server A you will already have root access, but you will not have SSH access. I strongly suggest set up SSH access. My video, I think lab number 2, answers that. So get SSH, then you will be able to do from a terminal SSH, and then you can do copy paste. So that's much easier. Do SSH for both, and then you're good to go. Again, it's explained in my video lab number 2. For the first part, you will also need to set up the network on server A. That's what I had. So these are my videos number 1A and 1B. I mean 1A or 1B. You have 2 ways. Either you use NM2E or you use NMCLI. Both work. Use whichever you like. You set up the network for VM number 1. I mean server A or whatever you call it. And then you will have a bunch of different questions on server A, which are usually slightly easier than those that you will get on server B. So they go in the order more or less that I gave in the video. And it's important that you know all those procedures, and then you will be good to go. Important is also on server B, normally you will have to do the podman stuff, so you will need to, like in my videos I did it a bit more tricky, but it's good to train, it's good to practice. The trick is that we set up the servers that you should contact. For instance, we are going to contact a podman registry server. So let's imagine you have here a podman reg, I will just write reg server. And for that, so it's like this. This is already set up. So if you don't know how to log into a remote podman server, then that's a problem. You will not be able to pull the image and use that image. So you have also to know how to log into the podman registry server, which they will give you. They will give you all the information. You just need to do the podman login command, and you should know it. It's also in my videos. Just check my videos. But I'm telling you, which are very important because they have some contingencies. Meaning, if you don't manage to do the root password reset, you cannot do anything on server B. And if you cannot manage to log into the Podman login registry, if you cannot manage to log into the Podman registry, then you will not be able to pull the image which you need for other questions. So typically, this is the problem. Several questions are on the logical volumes, so you should learn that very well. AutoFS is also in the exam, you should learn it by heart, but everything basically you should learn by heart. It's just those questions are difficult. Like the AutoFS is maybe one of the most difficult. It's probably the one you want to check as well. The user groups, I mean, you learn user groups, user add, user remove, you know, like, yeah, it's user del. I mean, it's pretty natural actually. Like the same for the groups, group add, group del. You know, you need to learn how to change the group for a certain user. You need to learn how to change the shell for a certain user. So all this you need to learn pretty good. Just know also one thing: you will not get any internet connection. This is all in a closed environment. You will have also one very important one. So I mentioned important the root password reset. I mentioned important the Podman registry server. Very, very important. You will also have okay, it's working here. So you also have here a, how do you call it? A repository server. So I will call it repo. Oh, this is because I'm touching it with my other hand. Okay, repo server. Okay, it's getting a bit ugly, but you can read and you listen to me, so it's fine. The repo server, you need to set it up and to make it work with both server A and server B. First, it's one of the first questions for server A. You will need to set up the repo, configure it, that you can pull some packages from it. They will give you usually two repo, the base OS and the other one, yeah, whatever they give you, stream, something. You just set it up exactly like this. Again, go to my video about setting up the repo. They will explain to you everything about that, and then you can pull things from it. You will not be able to pull anything from the internet. You have no internet access whatsoever. Remember that. So yeah, let's say those three things are the most important because they have the most contingencies, especially the repo server. Like imagine you cannot connect to your repo, then you cannot pull anything that you will need to answer all the other questions. So this is really a big one. Set up your repositories correctly. Learn it by heart. You should know it without checking the man page, for instance. This one you should know by heart. The root password reset and the Podman registry server as well. So these things you should really focus on. These are big questions that are super important and that have contingencies, because if you don't manage them, you cannot answer the rest of the questions. So super important. Okay, these are the three main things, and you see how it goes. Important is to set up SSH as well, because you can then copy paste. They give you a lot of information in the instructions. So you will have an instruction page and you need to follow those instructions. Make sure you copy paste, because if you cannot copy paste, you will have to type, you will make mistakes. I mean, in my videos I'm also typing, but you make mistakes. This is a rule of thumb. Okay, once you answered all the questions, you managed to answer all the questions, you manage your time. I mean, try to manage your time the best you can. It's not easy, I know. But try to manage your time. Do the easy questions first, because they give you points and you're sure to get those points. Do the toughest question last. For instance, maybe the Podman, maybe the AutoFS, those are tricky questions. Maybe the LVMs as well, do them last. Do the rest first. Make sure everything is fine, and also make sure everything is working after a reboot. That means, for instance, typically if you have a system CTL, like you have a service, you have a system D unit, service unit that needs to be enabled. You need to enable it, because after reboot, if it's not enabled, it won't start unless you make some script. But I mean, yeah, it's better to just enable the system control, enable -- now, for instance, And then the service, this is something you should know. In one command, you enable it and you start it. So this is super convenient. The repo server, of course, considering the repo server, and because it's a local server, you will not have access to something like, well, I like to use this thing, it's called TLDR. TLDR, if you don't know it, it's a very cool little software. You can install it with apt or DNF, whichever distro you're using. DNF install TLDR or TLDR sometimes. TLDR is a very cool thing because you can see examples. It's not as complete, as extensive as the man page, but you have examples of certain commands and they are very useful. So I also suggest you download TLDR during your preparation, but make sure you know how to work without using it, because during the exam you will not have access to this. TLDR is not available on the basic OS repository, the base OS repository. So you should learn how to work without it. Do all the labs that I have in my videos and make sure you know them without checking the videos, without help. You should be independent after my videos and after the labs. And then, well, you should be fine with time usually. Check your answers, check that everything will be working after a reboot. You can even physically reboot the server and check that everything is there after everything. That's what I did. There is no shame in it. That way you're certain that things are gonna work. What else? What else should I specify? Yeah, you will not have internet, so it's a closed environment. Both VMs will be used for tasks. So as I said, you will have a bunch of tasks on server A, usually more, but they are easier. And then on server B, you will need to do the root password reset. And then you will have the more tricky tasks, let's say. Some of them are easy, but yeah, it's how it goes. Yeah, otherwise, know your CLI tools. I mean, this is part of any kind of Linux exam. If you did the Linux Plus, for instance, I did it in the past, you also need to know very well your tooling. Like, you need to know grep, for instance. Grep is very useful to find information. You need to know, I don't know, like ls, of course, less, the man pages. The man page is super important. Learn how to use the man pages. For instance, if you have, I don't know, sometimes you have a combination of commands, like let's say podman login, Well, you can actually do man podman dash login, for instance. Even though when you type the command, it's podman space login. That's a typical example. Many others like this. I don't have them at the tip of my head, but on the top of my head. But this is something that's you need to know, like the man pages and how to also search in the man pages. Like you are basically in a man page. How do you find a word? Well, you need to use the slash. Very important to know how to use the slash. You type slash and then the word that you want to search. Sometimes you need to search for something where you need to escape some characters. Then you use the backslash to escape a character within that slash search command. So these are things you need to know. So yeah, know your labs. Do all the labs that I did. You don't need to do more, really. If you know all the labs I did with the tips I gave in the videos, you're good to go for the exam. Now know your CLI tools, like I said, grep, like ls, like cat, like tac. You need the sorting. Sometimes you need to sort some stuff. The find is very important. Now, every time you know in a man page, search for the examples. It will give you more ideas of what to do. For instance, typically for C Linux, you need to, at some point, edit the SC Linux permissions for the HTTPD, the Apache 2 service. And to do that, you need to search for stuff. And yeah, so the man page, you need to know quite some things, but it's very feasible. Like, just follow my videos. I'm just giving you extra tips now. Start with server A, definitely, because it starts first also in the questions normally, but these are the easier questions. Go to server B, do the roast password reset, then you will have to set up the repo server as well on server B, so it's just as important. Then do your stuff, and yeah, I think, oh yeah, the files also, the file systems. Like, for instance, typically one file that you will need to use very often is the etc fstab. So I will write like this, etc fstab. etc fstab, like this actually. etc fstab is a very important file because that's where you store everything that will be mounted on boot. And typically you want things to be mounted on boot in the exam because you want things to be working after reboot, like the AutoFS, like the LVM stuff, like everything you will need to have there. Some commands also, like the mount command, and this will tell you which mounts are there, and then you pipe. Oh yeah, the piping also is important. Like you use a pipe like this, and then you grab the result, with something, or like, and then, or if you want to remount everything, you do mount -a, a super important command. But I mean, there are a bunch of commands in those videos. Just learn them from the videos. I'm just trying to give you some ideas from the top of my head. Go also for the easiest way. Like typically for setting up the network at the very beginning, I strongly suggest you use an M2E, because in M2E you have a comfortable GUI. If you're not comfortable with the CLI, why would you do that? An M2E is working, it should be installed. So just use that and set up the network with that. You just type the first question you need to type, because you won't be able to use SSH yet. So for the networking setup, you will need to type it. Be careful, type correctly, and then you will have the network, then set up SSH. SSH is not in the exam, but it helps you a lot, because then you'll be able to copy paste much better than with the terminal interface from the VM hypervisor control that you're having. So do that, set up SSH. Yeah, and that would be the end of my video. I think I gave you everything. Of course, before the exam, relax, try to take your time. Don't do anything stressful that day. You just take the day off. You take the day off, you peaceful, you have a coffee in the morning, some vitamins, I don't know. And you go there and try to relax, breathe. It's not the end of the world if you lose. You have a repass anyway. So that way, you should be good to go. And that's it for this video. I hope you pass the exam and you have a lot of success in your career with that. But I mean, this is a very good exam because it's pretty hands-on, so I like it. I want to pass the RHCE also next year. The RHCE is rather towards Ansible stuff, which I use constantly in my work, so that's also why I passed the RHCSA. You can have many different goals for that. It can be your starting point also, I don't know. Usually it's not. I think mostly people will know a little bit about everything towards system engineering and system administration before taking that exam. But if it is your entry point, I think it's a pretty good entry point, because you learn many things you have to know. I might make some more videos, extra videos on using the tooling actually that I just described, the grep, the cat, and everything, and also the modern Linux tools, which are not part of this video, but yeah, that's also some other cool thing. And yeah, make sure you train good with Vagrant and with VirtualBox. These are excellent tools for your preparation. I explain everything in my video 0, and then you can do all the labs from my videos yourself. This is important that you do everything on your own. If you have any problem, ask me in the comments, I will help. Okay? Well, have a nice day and good luck with your exam.